Hey, welcome back to a Reid's Renegade podcast, season 2, episode 3. Today we're doing Batman.
Yeah, the brand new Batman that just came out like 2 weeks ago, and this will be our retrospective review on the brand new Batman movie. And so it's Jamie and Josh, and James making his first podcast appearance.
Finally turned up for the show.
Yeah, first day.
Yeah,
let's go. Let's get it for James. Oh.
So James has been a producer for the whole of season 2. He's been behind the scenes doing art editing,
designing thumbnails.
Yeah, so now he's in the podcast for the first time, and he's going to give us a great insight into the Batman as well.
But he's not the only one here. Today we have
Alex Matheson's.
Ollie from Reid.
Oh, good man.
And the one and only Jonasz from also Matheson's.
Yeah, great. So we got Alex, Jonasz, and Ollie, and we're gonna run through some stuff.
What's up?
Let's get straight into it.
Alright, so we're going to move on now. We thought it was a great film. It came out pretty recently, but we want to know what our guests' opinions were. So, Alex, what did you think of the action? What would you say the best scene was?
For me personally, it was probably the car chase between Batman and the Penguin. It was pretty cool how the showing a new version of the Batmobile, how it's more realistic.
So, looking retrospectively at some of the older Batman films, would you say it's better in comparison to some of the previous Batmobiles?
Yeah, you don't really get the best look at it, but
That is true. Yeah, it's pretty dark in the movie. Like it's pretty gritty. Yeah,
it's like it's in the shadows. It's helps represent Batman as a character. It's like in the shadows. He just appears when crime is there.
Yeah.
but as soon as you see that blue flame light up from the jet engine, you know something's about to go down.
That's when you know it's gonna. Yeah.
And that was a really cool scene.
Yeah, it was.
I especially loved when the two big trucks blow up, and then he ramps over
and it comes up through the fire, yeah. And the Penguin thinks he's got rid of him, then he appears. And what do you think of the pacing of the film? Do you think that was alright?
It was a long film. I do admit I had a sore back at the end.
But was it worth it? Were those 3 hours worth it?
It was a good film. They could have cut out a few things.
What do you think they could have cut out?
The end scene, maybe the last thing between Catwoman and Batman, that could have not.
You thought that wasn't necessary?
Yeah, it would have been a very good idea to have it end between the conversation of the Riddler and the Joker, because that puts a pretty good.
So you've got the kind of what's going on here.
I think that was necessary because you needed to tie up the relationship. Where I think they could have cut something out was, the whole third act where, as soon as Riddler is captured, the movie starts to slow down a bit, and then you've got this whole thing about his followers on Instagram and stuff like that, and they flood the city. That was not as good as the first half of the movie. And I think if they reduced that, they could have had something else, but the ending was good. Yeah. Ollie, what do you think your favorite action scene was in the movie?
I didn't really have one on, to be honest.
Oh no!
I thought the movie was a little in my opinion.
Oh, silly mama.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
Do you have any reasons for why you thought it was so?
I had no idea what the was going on for half of that movie. I'm not even gonna lie.
Just moving too fast, or what?
It was moving at every speed imaginable, if that makes sense. That some parts just went super fast, but on the whole, the plot just was super slow, and the movie was too long. I honestly, I wish I got my money back and just never went, because sitting in a theatre for 3 hours listening to an emo guy in a mask talk about vengeance was not the best way to spend my Saturday night, in my opinion.
Alright, so we got a different point of view there. Did you think the acting was okay, at least, or what did you think of that?
I think Robert Pattinson is a decent actor.
Nice.
Yeah.
Decent.
I don't know. I've not watched many films with Robert Pattinson.
Have you not? Like Twilight.
I've never seen
really great
Twilight.
shows.
Not your favorite.
Don't watch it.
I've never seen Twilight. I've seen Harry Potter. Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Right.
Save yourself some pain.
Is he the bloke that
He's the Cedric Diggory
dies at the graveyard thing?
Yeah.
It's quite emotional, that bit.
Yeah.
I think he played a better Cedric Diggory than he did the Batman. So,
Alright.
yeah.
All right, fair enough.
And then Jonas, what was your opinion on the film?
I mean, it's a film. I liked it.
It's a film.
It's a
It
film.
is
It's
a
a
film.
film.
It is a
What else
film.
is there to say? It's a film.
As long as it's entertaining, I like it. So I mean, there was no scene that I preferably liked, but it was like a film, like I said, and everything was great in it. Yeah, that's basically my view.
So what did you think of the pacing? Did you think it was too long or?
Well, basically, like maybe for people who are a bit stupid, it was a bit like.
What? What? Like Ollie?
Why are you?
Why would you say
I
that
said
about
it's
him?
bad, yo, I know.
You're the one that copies me in maths.
Safe. Nah, but like it was okay. It's like the pacing was good. I could follow everything, and yeah.
That's good.
I disagree.
How did you find The Batman compared to other Batman films such as Batman '89, Dark Knight?
I mean, I only watched like the one with Christian Bale.
Yeah, so
yeah.
The Dark Knight.
It's different, but like I couldn't say one with one.
Would you say my experience of the movie would have been improved if I'd seen any of the other Batman movies? That's
Well,
the first Batman movie I've watched and the first proper superhero movie I've watched.
So The Batman is a standalone film, so you didn't need to know anything else to watch it.
I think it's subject to opinion because I'd never seen any of the Batman films or any superhero films before this, and I actually really enjoyed this film.
But if you wanted
So-
to compare the Batmans, then you would like watch the Ben Affleck movies or the Dark Knight, because everyone knows Ben Affleck sucks.
Yeah, never seen that.
But you
Whoa,
can't
never
see that.
seen that.
Oh.
What it was?
Alex
Whoa!
has a different opinion.
Alex,
Alright, do tell.
Getting some controversy. I have no idea who Ben Affleck is, but come on.
he's the one.
I'm all
no
here.
one
I'm
likes.
all for the beef.
all for the beef.
He might have not been the best Batman, but he probably was one of my favorites because he was like in the Justice League movies. He was in, like, if you put the Robert Pattinson Batman versus Superman, he would have died within a second.
Yeah.
100%.
I guess they're just different takes on it because this one's more realistic. He's not looking to be as much of a superhero. He's more
grounded.
he's more of a crime solver, detective.
Yeah.
He's trying to solve the Riddler's, riddles and stuff. So it's not in that kind of regard. But yeah, I understand what you mean. He probably wouldn't be able to stand up to Superman.
Personally, I did not find the film very realistic. There were multiple occasions where he just got shot in the face, and a bomb literally exploded an inch from his eyes, and nothing.
His whole lower jaw should have been burned.
His whole lower jaw should have disintegrated from the shrapnel. It's just and he got a shotgun shell to the chest as well.
Yep.
And just got up and walked away.
Nah, with the
Wow.
shotgun shot, he was
He was
like
down
dead.
for quite
Yeah,
some time.
Yeah,
But
but
until he
then
just
they
fucking-
injected the magic
Venom juice.
Venom.
EpiPen into his leg, and then he was fine.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm allergic to shotgun
No, but that's like
shells.
superhero logic. Like they're
It's like
superhuman.
100% concentration of steroids.
That's why I don't. That's why I don't really
But hitting
watch
him, but
superhero
it's
movies.
realistic for the chest when it's hitting him on the armor. That's fair enough because if he's got the technology for
Oh yeah,
for
so
some of his stuff.
this is something in the comics. The classic Batman look, how he's got the yellow symbol on his chest.
Not really, but yeah, go on.
Alright, the reason he made it yellow was to make criminals shoot him, and that's where he put all of his armor protection. There's one
that's
scene-
actually
Cheeky.
Yeah.
So if the armor's
tactical,
designed for
yeah.
it, that's realistic enough. But for the bomb exploding from his face, that's perhaps slightly less.
And also there's one scene where he's flying and he takes a massive hit against this
Oh, yeah.
bridge.
I feel like he should have
He
been
Yeah, and then he
should have
gets
broken
shot
like a
or
neck or
something.
something from
I
that.
thought that was very funny.
I like that.
Yeah, it was fun.
Alright, so Alex, what do you think the movie was out of 10?
I'd give it 8 or 9. It's
Nice, okay.
That's good.
Moving on to Ollie.
I'd give it a solid 3.
Alright, so
Alright.
you'd probably not watch it
Alright.
again, yeah.
No.
So you
Alright,
wouldn't-
last but not least, Jonas!
Okay, wait, hold on. You had what was your rating, Alex?
8.
Okay, so 3. So I'm gonna give it a 10. I mean,
My guy!
because
First 10 on the Reid's Renegade podcast.
I mean, it's I don't watch many films, but that film, I kind of I really enjoyed it though, because it's so relatable. I mean, I feel like now I could just be a Batman.
very relatable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's of course my parents died and I became super depressed, and I was rich as fuck, but still, it's just
beating guys up.
Super relatable to
That
Jonas.
sounds very
I mean,
relatable, yeah.
because I'm so
Yeah, exactly. You like beating people up.
Yeah, we won't do the host opinions right now. We'll do that at the end of the spoiler section. But does it get your seal of approval, guys? Okay, so Alex, yes.
Wait,
Ollie,
is this approval
no.
of the movie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
approve.
Yeah.
That's a seal of no.
A seal of a no.
Seal of
Whoa! First one!
A seal of disapproval.
Ooh, disapproval.
Love this
Disapproval.
conflict.
Jonas?
Right,
I
Jonas.
mean, with a 10 out of 10, I cannot give it a no. So.
No,
Yeah,
that
fair.
would
That
not
doesn't
make
make
any
any
sense. no.
Come on.
Alright.
So.
I would say I'd definitely say it got my seal of approval. I would agree with Jonas on this. I might not give it a 10 out of 10. There was some unrealistic stuff, but I'd give it a 9. It was a pretty solid film.
Well, thank you so much for your input and your opinion. Not Ollie.
You're
We're gonna end it here. Thank you guys so much for just coming.
very welcome.
Maybe you can come around again.
It
Maybe
won't
not
be
Ollie.
Ollie.
But you guys can come around again, and that'll be cool. Maybe in the next Batman that comes out.
Excuse me.
Ooh.
What's-
Will there be
what-
a next one?
What?
Ooh.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but
so-
I think the little bit of controversy makes the podcast more exciting. You know, there's one quote I remember. I've seen the Joker movie, and it's
Nice.
something. And I've seen one. I've seen quite. I've you know, there's quotes from the Joker movie, and one of them is something about like, you know, chaos is good or something like that. You know what I mean?
I think that was.
Yes, there was a reason he was put into an asylum.
Yeah,
Shush.
and he died at the end, didn't he?
No, he
No, he
didn't.
was
Oh.
put
No,
into-
he's dancing in the
Yeah, he was
end.
put into an asylum.
Spoilers, no?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Alright, well, thank you very much, guys. Alex, Jonas, and Ollie. We're going to be moving on to the spoiler section. Alright, welcome back. We're going to dive into some spoilers real quick. So if you've not seen the film, we really recommend you out and watch it. But as Ollie just said earlier, if you're not a big fan of superhero movies like he is, then maybe don't go and watch it and just listen, like, if you don't want to.
Alright, so for the spoiler section, we're going to go over a few things that we think we should talk about in the film. We've still got Ollie here, so
Hello.
we've still got Ollie here, so he's going to be continuing to give his
Yep.
point of view.
His interesting points.
His interesting.
Controversial.
So the first thing we're going to go over is the plot structure of the film. I thought it was pretty decent. Jamie, what was your opinion?
So, the Batman definitely had two different kind of plots going on at the same time. The first half, you really have this kind of Zodiac 7 kind of David Fincher style mystery thriller in which Batman and Gordon are trying to track down the Riddler and uncover the mystery of what's going on. But then it kind of transitions, doesn't it, Josh, into this kind of more mob-led kind of conspiracy movie to the second half.
Yeah, you can notice in the beginning how he's not in his Batman uniform really much in the beginning, and he's more of in like a hooded kind of figure. He rides his bike around, and he's just pretty much a mystery novel in the beginning. And then later on gets more into the action with into his suit, and I think that's a really nice balance between like a sort of mystery approach and the actual like Batman himself.
Yeah, so the especially in the second half, you've got the mob. So there's Falcone, there's Penguin, and Penguin is the second in command to Falcone, and then they kind of set up Penguin's storyline that he's gonna have in his own TV show with the end of the movie, because you know Falcone gets killed. He gets sniped by the Riddler when he, I think one of the Riddler's things said, "Bring the."
And
El Rata Helada into the light. Yeah, and so then he brings Batman, like arrests him or whatever, brings him outside, and then he gets shot and sniped. And we also had this kind of interesting relationship between Falcone and Catwoman. What do you think of that, James?
It was pretty interesting. So we weren't really sure what was going on at the beginning. We just thought she was an employee or something.
Yeah.
The further we get into the film, we later discover that Catwoman, or acted by Kravitz or whatever,
Yeah.
she turns out to be his daughter, which none of us were really expecting. I don't think.
Yeah, that was a weird twist.
That's quite a throw off. And she's got this really quite like burning anger with this guy for how he's messed up her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got this voicemail proving he's killed her friends, and so she goes out to go and try and kill him, and that's a pretty interesting like action scene.
And another thing with Catwoman is you actually see her a lot more compared to the Dark Knight trilogy, where She was only there for like a couple of minutes, and throughout this movie, you're constantly seeing her, meeting her. Well, you're shaking your head, Jamie.
No, Selena Kyle was in Dark Knight Rises a lot. Like, you got her on the Batpod. You have her stealing the stuff from Bruce Wayne. You've got the stuff where he leads Batman to Bane, etc. You've got the relationship with the friend. I think it's a sister. And then you've got Selena Kyle when she's in Gotham by herself. And then, of course, you got the final scene of Dark Knight Rises when, Alfred sees Bruce and Selena.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay, they're both pretty balanced there. Take it back, my bad.
But which do you prefer? That's the big question.
That is the big question. I think I personally prefer the new cat lady. I gotta say it. The Dark Knight Catwoman. She was nice. She was nice. Okay.
All right.
As in, like, acting wise, of course.
Yes.
But then.
What else would it be, Josh?
What else would it be? But then the Batman, the new one. I don't know. I could really, like, almost not relate to her, but I can understand her. I can understand why she was mad.
Yeah, where she's coming from.
Where she's coming from.
Yeah.
And I think she just played her character just really well, and that was good.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Pretty cool.
Do you think the end of the film set up anything for Catwoman? Do you think we might
set up anything?
Yeah.
Like, do you think we're gonna maybe see
I thought she like
her own film?
stuff to another country though, didn't she?
Yeah. So there's this comic run called Catwoman When in Rome, which was made by some famous Batman writers. So we could see them adapting that story.
So is she gonna go to Rome?
She could do, and she. Oh, think about it. Falcone is of like Italian descent.
Falcone.
So she might want to like
Yeah.
reconnect with her family, blah blah blah, do something like that. I'm not too versed in the story of Catwoman When in Rome, but yeah, it kind of goes along those lines.
I think it'd be cool to see maybe a Catwoman movie. I mean,
The last time we saw a Catwoman movie was 2004 with Halle Berry, and that was really bad.
woof. I think maybe.
Was it as bad as this new?
Okay, maybe. I don't. No.
That is awful.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
No.
It's so bad. Like, I'll put an image on screen right now of what like the front cover looks like. It bombed at the box office. That's why they never made another one. It was just really bad.
Ripping the chat. Next topic.
All right, yeah. So moving on. What did you think about the action, Josh?
right.
What was your favorite action scene?
Okay, let's start in the beginning. So lot of we had this crowd of people with face paint, and boom, Batman comes out of the shadows and starts beating everyone up.
But there's an interesting bit before that, isn't there, where we get told about the effects that there's.
Well, that's not the action, is it?
But for the
It builds up to the action. Oh, it suggests
There is a good build-up, yeah.
It suggests like how like the criminal kind of level in Gotham, and how it's just pretty scary and everyone's just not safe.
And they use the shadows to their advantage, like when normally they'd be trying to go to the darkest places. That's where they fear that Batman's going to be.
Yeah,
so
because
they have that inbuilt fear of it.
He is the shadows, I think he says in the voiceover. There's a really good. The first 15 minutes is just amazing. It's 10 out of 10. The first 10 minutes. First of all, that first scene, you've got like this Ave Maria sort of operatic music.
Yeah, you know what? I'll give the movie that. The first the first 10 minutes maybe of the movie was quite enticing, I guess.
Yeah, was that very compelling?
Really drew you into the film.
You know how it started out with like how it's a city where there's loads of crime,
and then there's this guy,
like gang
Riddler.
violence and all that, and there's some random bloke with asthma and a mask that's like stalking this politician, and he goes and he like caves his head in with like a chisel or something. And it was actually it gave an element of mystery. It was quite. It was actually quite enticing, but then after that, it just kind of went downhill, and it was just all weird, and everyone died or blew up, and random stuff was happening that I had no idea.
Well,
that first scene, especially with Riddler, really set him up as not the Jim Carrey kind of Riddler. Because if you've seen Batman Forever, in which
That got Jim Carrey in it.
that's got Jim Carrey as the Riddler. I'll put an image up on screen right now of Jim Carrey's Riddler compared to Paul Dano's one. Paul Dano, by the way, was insane in the role. Like,
Was he the guy that played Riddler?
yeah, he was really creepy, especially when he's like doing these really deep breaths and stuff, and like just stalking him and with his shadow. That was really creepy. And then
his interview later on with Batman when he's been shifted to Arkham, you know, he's the one at the disadvantage here, but he really manages to turn it to his side. He's really freaks out Batman with, you know, the way he's talking to him.
Yeah.
Before we move on, we're gonna have to say our goodbyes to Ollie. So goodbye,
All right.
Ollie.
Thanks for
Goodbye.
coming on, Ollie.
Thanks,
Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Have you next time.
It's been great having you. We'll see you around.
Okay, much love. Goodbye.
Jamie, now what did you think about the action throughout the movie?
Well, on the whole, the film, although it was paced quite slowly in parts, when there was action, it was really good. One bit that really stands out is in that first 10 minutes that we were just talking about, the voiceover of Batman. We see Gotham for what it really is, this really gritty, dark, noir city. It really reminds me of like LA in like the 1930s Prohibition, something like that, 1920s. And it's the most comic accurate Gotham I think we've ever seen. If we think about Batman 1989, that was good. That had a lot of gothic stuff in it. We transition through the years to Batman and Robin with George Clooney. It's too wacky. There needs to be this balance, don't you think?
Well, the George Clooney ones do.
Yeah, with Gotham, and especially with the Dark Knight trilogy, that was trying to make it more grounded, but it wasn't like a realistic Gotham. We kind of saw that in Batman Begins with the Narrows.
I think the Dark Knight was pretty grounded, but the Batman just had, well, you know, he had a freaking flying spaceship.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Batman one, he didn't have a flying spaceship, and when he was flying, he didn't have wings that sprung out. What he had was,
That's true.
You know, that bodysuit that he used for gliding, and I think that was.
All right, so we were just interrupted by some very dishonorable Reid's boys
Delinquents.
because we are using the brew room as our temporary studio, which has got a lot of room in it and it's good for having like lots of guests in. But we're renovating the studio at the moment, and we're gonna do a kind of like video on it. We'll give you some updates on the Instagram because we're transforming the Reid's library into our studio.
It hasn't been used for quite a few years by now, so.
So it's definitely going to take some time for us to move everything, hoover everything. We're going to paint everything. It's going to look pretty cool.
Yeah.
Gonna get some new furniture in as well.
We'll show the transition on Instagram. Our Instagram, Reid's Instagram. You should follow that.
And if you want to stay posted for that, yeah, just hit us a follow on the Instagram.
Reid's Renegade Radio.
And yeah, so we were just chatting about the action of the Batman, and I was saying that one bit that really stood out to me is the scene at the beginning where Batman's first revealed, and he takes down these guys in white face paint that you were saying, and he says this awesome line. What did he say, Josh?
He says, "I'm vengeance."
I'm vengeance.
He's like, "Who are you?" Boom, boom, boom. I do have to say, I love the fighting.
Yeah, I'll play that scene on right now.
I love the fighting in Batman. It just feels. It almost feels like I can feel every single punch, probably because I was in IMAX. But
Yeah.
But I really like that, and it was a lot more gritty in a way. The way he fights, like once they're down, he keeps still pounding them, and
Yeah.
I think that adds to the theme of the new Batman trying to become more grim than the other Batman movies.
But with the fighting in that scene, I mean, obviously I can't compare it to any previous ones because I haven't seen them. But I thought his fighting was relatively realistic. There, I mean, you could believe that it was what was going on. It was, as Josh said, it was pretty gritty, but it was like believable fighting.
Yeah, and I think what they might have done is they might have looked at the Arkham games. If you've played them, you know that the combat is really in-depth. There's a lot of different combos you can do, and it's got great realistic combat. And I think they must have used it as inspiration. So moving on, cinematography. Josh, this movie was plain beautiful. But in particular, what was your favorite shots in particular?
I think the shots really popped out during the fight scenes where you had the different angles, and linking back to what we said in that beginning with the Riddler in the room, we have this like blurry scene where he's hitting the guy and then his weapon gets tossed to the side and it hits the ground,
and then it focuses on that. Yeah.
and he like his heavy boots start walking towards and he picks it up. But then also in general with I just think the cinematography was just really complex and very abstract in a way, and I think it flowed really nicely, I think it was because of the great cinematography that really made this Batman very very profound and just really cool overall. How about you?
Well, I think definitely we were talking about Gotham earlier and how it was presented in this film, and I think the cinematography really aided in making it more gritty. We get shots of it from a street level, which is really good because we used to have so you remember the Narrows in Batman Begins, which is kind of this area where Scarecrow and his goons are kind of working.
Yeah.
That was a really gritty part, and they kind of made the whole of Gotham feel like this because of how kind of rainy it was, how grim it was. I was looking at where they filmed it, and they filmed it mainly, I think, in Liverpool and Glasgow, so that hits close to home.
All right.
They did right before COVID, or maybe it was during COVID. You know the final scene of Catwoman and Batman cycling away from each
Away
other?
from the
Kind of near this graveyard?
Yeah.
That was filmed in Glasgow, and at the time we saw some behind the scenes leaks, and we were like, oh, what's this going to be? Is it like a chase or something? And it was the final scene of the movie, so that's cool. But I think the cinematographer, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Greg Fraser. He was a really good cinematographer. I was looking at his IMDb earlier, and he did Rogue One, which was plain beautiful.
Love
like
that
some
movie.
of that stuff is great.
Loved it.
And then June, which was just amazing as well, which had some great stuff of the planets of Arrakis. And I think he lent a really good view of cinematography.
He has a really good streak with movies, and
and he did Zero Dark 30 as well, which is a great war movie if you haven't seen it.
I'll definitely check that out because I haven't seen that.
In particular, I really loved the sunset scenes. So, you know, when Gordon and Catwoman and Batman are all on the top of that roof along with the dirty cop, there's a really nice sunrise sunset, and it just looks beautiful in Gotham. And I think that's something they sell really well. Oh yes, something about this movie is that not a lot of it takes part during the day.
Yeah, I think that's probably just to add to the more grimness to Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
But also, well, I mean, Batman only really does his stuff during the night, and it just adds to that atmosphere in a way. Kind of like the dark, when he uncovers the dark truth of Gotham in a way.
Yeah, especially with his parents. And there's something that people have been saying, that there's this comics series called The Court of Owls that's pretty recent, came out in like 2013 with Scott Snyder, who's a great writer. And that's basically about how there's this underground family who's been running Gotham in the shadows, and how the Waynes were like targeted and assassinated. And because we delve into the Waynes' kind of evil side, they could definitely explore this in future movies. With the Court of Owls, there's this really cool villain called Talon, who's their assassin and goes after Batman and almost kills Batman. And that's a great storyline. I can see them doing that in a sequel. What do you think?
I can definitely see that. I really liked how they mentioned more about the Wayne family in this movie.
Yeah.
And the surprising fact how Martha was like something mentally just kind of...
Oh yeah, her Arkham side, because I think her maiden name is Arkham, and she was like crazy or something, like a lunatic.
Something like that. I think just adding that kind of just gave us a bit of more of an insight to this Batman character. And if they continue this for the next movie, I think it'd be really cool. Especially that Court of Owls idea. I could definitely see that in the cinemas, and yeah, it's a good story. It's a very good plot that they could take.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of villains, do you think they'll add like a new Bane to this new Batman character,
Ooh,
or like
that's really interesting.
because we're getting
yeah.
the Joker or Two-Face. We're not too sure who was in the other.
Oh,
other
it's
cell.
been confirmed. Yeah. So the director Matt Reeves, who also did the Planet of the Apes series, which were really good films, he confirmed that he made 2 scenes that were cut. So early on in the film, when the Batman is like, he's not too sure what the Riddler's intentions are, his motivations. He doesn't really understand why he's getting Batman into the crimes, and including him in the messages and stuff. And so he goes to Arkham Asylum early on in the movie and talks with Joker. And so it's been confirmed to be Joker, and it's the guy from Eternals who plays Druig, Barry Keoghan.
Oh yeah.
So that guy, and he plays like this version of the Joker, the director says, who's not the Joker yet. So he's kind of, I think he's got the scars like we saw in the movie, but he doesn't wear the face paint and stuff, and doesn't have the name the Joker yet.
Oh, okay. So he's just starting up to become the Joker, and I would imagine this would be the next movie, wouldn't it? So
maybe he breaks out.
And then he truly becomes the Joker that we all know
Yeah.
and love. So I can't wait to see that, especially.
Other villains they could do, Clayface possibly. We haven't seen him in live action. Mr. Freeze, we haven't seen him since Batman and Robin. Poison Ivy as well, we haven't seen her for a while.
Moving swiftly to a new topic, music, Jamie.
Yeah, our favorite topic. If you watch the music segment from the Spider-Man episode, you know that
there's a huge segment where we just pretty much just waffle about music.
Yeah,
and
because we were big fans of the kind of Spider-Man soundtrack from that film, and it was composed by Michael Giacchino. We had some stuff where you guys Will and Josh didn't really know who Michael Giacchino was, and Michael Giacchino happened to score this one as well, the Batman.
No way!
So he does this really good kind of tension building soundtrack that helps the movie be more gritty and dark.
More gritty, flow a bit better. Really enhance the fighting scenes, or just like the detective gritty scenes. What also helped with that was the cinematography. How they have like camera locking on the side of a car, or
that's really well
I
done.
like that. And
I'll put some shots up right now.
Oh yeah. And he goes through that, we mentioned how like the 2 trucks goes through that explosion.
And then Penguin's like, I got you.
That was sick.
That was so good.
That was sick.
But yeah, the music, there was a really good song choice. If you've seen the original reveal trailer from the DC fandom like 2 years ago, in the trailer, Nirvana's Something in the Way comes on, and you hear the guitar riff. I'll play it now.
We'll play it. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, it's really good. And so that appears twice in the movie. Once at the beginning, once at the end. And it's really good at the beginning because it's with Batman's voiceover about how he doesn't really know if he's had an effect on the city, and he thinks that he's making it worse. And that kind of starts his character development. And it also reflects that this Batman hasn't got the hang of Batman yet. He still has, because basically Batman, or Bruce Wayne, has 3 different facades. He's got Batman, which he is most of the time, and then he's got the playboy Bruce Wayne, and he's got his true self, the true Bruce Wayne, which is just Alfred sees. And then if you've seen the Dark Knight trilogy, he's also like that with Rachel Dawes. And so he hasn't really got to grips with this billionaire playboy philanthropist type persona yet, which is interesting to see how he's in his 2nd year, he still hasn't got the ropes. And so the music really helps with that, with Something in the Way. And then at the end
they played it again, and I think that's when it really shows that he understands who he is now, and that he's like made an effect in the city, because I think it plays during that scene in the flare, or is that?
Yeah, it starts when he's.
We have that like bird's view shot of him with a flare and people following him behind him.
I'll put that up as well. That's really cool.
You can maybe say how that was the point where Batman finally figured out who he wants to be.
Yeah,
and what
someone
he wants
who
to
helps
do.
the city. Yeah. Up next, acting. So this movie had a great director and a great script, which allowed the actors to really do the best they could with the concept and the content of the script. In particular, I think the standout is definitely Paul Dano. Josh, have you seen many of Paul Dano's films?
Not really, to be honest, but just recently I've been watching The Prisoners, and it is a cracking film.
Yeah.
Definitely check it out. I think Paul Dano, he's almost like quite a quiet person in Prisoners, but with the Riddler in this movie, he's very heavy breathing. You can kind of like almost.
He's very psychotic.
Yeah, very psychotic.
He nailed the kind of insanity of this version of the Riddler, really.
And adding to that, him being psychotic, is the choice of clothes. I feel was pretty spot on, because if you look at the comics, he's just like some green suited guy with a green hat, and he's got a cane of like a question mark. I'm glad they didn't do that. Okay,
that's very Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
I'll put up a comparison of that.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's night and day, the difference.
So in this one, we have almost like, was that a leather mask?
It's like this leather mask, yeah, and a military
kind of like suit, and
jacket.
Then, funny enough, he wears his glasses on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an Easter egg. The glasses he wears are the ones that the Riddler from Batman Forever wears. Like Jim Carrey's ones. They're the same transparent glasses. So that's a cool nod.
That's a cool Easter egg.
And I think Paul Dano went on a talk show and said that he couldn't breathe very well through the mask, and he was sweating. He was so hot because I don't think they put enough holes in it or something. There's something like that, yeah. And so I think the clothes for him were really good. Same with the bat suit. New bat suit. New gadgets. So I think my happiest thing from the suit is how realistic the flying is. You were talking about it earlier, how there's not wings that mechanically fold out. Yeah. It's a wingsuit. It's
a real life wingsuit that people actually use to fly.
And it looks really cool. Like when he's up on the Gotham Police Department tower, and he does rips it open,
blows up, and he flies. Mentioning about equipment that he has a ton in the movie, if you notice it.
He doesn't use batarangs a lot though.
No.
Does he?
No.
He uses it once, and it's the one in his chest which comes out.
I was telling Jamie how maybe this is to do with the realism, because let's say you have a batarang, right, and you want to throw it. Some people are not really good at it, or maybe you might miss it. Yeah, he would have practice, but he used it once, right? When cutting down the
I said to Josh in the cinema, I was like, why doesn't he just throw it at the electric cable instead of jumping
on it and then cutting it and then risking his life?
Oh, that was a weird scene. Yeah.
And then also how he was on top of that roof, and he attaches this magnetic thing to one of the steel beams, and then just runs down the side of it. I think that was cool.
That was cool, yeah.
Also with the flare, and he just conveniently has all these tools with him.
It's kind of
cool, how does he carry all this with his armor on the suit? Don't know. Probably lifts a lot of weights, to be honest.
So moving on, Jeffrey Wright, his Lieutenant Gordon was different, wasn't it?
I'll be honest, I didn't see Jeffrey Wright to be the new Gordon, but then again, I couldn't really picture anyone else but the usual Gordon we know from the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah, Gary Oldman's one.
But he was there in the movie to help and assist Batman with these mystery notes and letters. So in a way, he just helped overall in the movie. Personally, I don't think I saw him too much, or maybe he could have done more. But then again, he was mostly there in every scene when they were doing interrogations, or he would be the guy in the police force that would help Batman. Mm-hmm. And that scene where Batman's in the police station.
That's really cool. Let's talk about that.
Okay. So every police pretty much in Gotham is just huddled up in this one room with Batman. Gordon says, "Hey, I can crack this guy. Just leave the room and I'll talk to this
let
guy."
me have one-on-one time with Batman.
So they all leave. He whispers to Batman. It's like, hey, I'm gonna give you this key. You can undo your chains, but make sure you punch me, so then it looks realistic. So
Yeah.
he proceeds to punch him, takes the keys. This sick run up, grapple hook, uses that.
He uses it, yeah.
Yeah,
He uses
another
it
gadget. He uses that, zip lines upwards. Another really sick camera view where he's
That's
facing
really
his,
cool,
his
yeah.
head, and you just see the bullets flying in the background. And then like afterwards, he was like, "Hey, why didn't you pull your punches?" And he was like, "I was pulling my punches."
Yeah, that was cool. And then that goes right into the flying scene we were talking about earlier. Another great camera angles, the GoPro, kind of when he's wingsuiting. So, Josh, what did you think about Colin Farrell's Penguin?
So initially, I didn't know it was Colin Farrell in the beginning. I just thought, I don't know, just some strange Donnie just off the streets. Just, why not?
Some big guy, yeah.
Some big guy, why not?
What you doing?
I'm
doing? Walking here.
I got you. I think he played him really well. I haven't seen many Penguin characters being played in movies.
There's only been, I think, 3 if you count the Gotham TV series.
Yeah, so I didn't really like have something to compare, but his acting was pretty phenomenal. And when Jamie afterwards told me, yeah, it was Colin, and it was like, wait, no, it was that guy?
Yeah, the guy from...
That guy?
You knew him from Fantastic Beasts,
yeah. And he just had all these cosmetics. Like, oh wow.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah. Really captured the Penguin-esque mafia vibe.
Mm-hmm. I think they were going for more of a mafia vibe than this supervillain who hides in an ice cave with robot killer penguins, like the comics.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll get the penguins in the next one, please. Or in the series, yeah. I could see the series being a bit like Book of Boba Fett, how he's this mob boss. You know what I mean? Maybe more like Sopranos, if you've seen that, which is a great mob TV series. Alright, so moving on, talk about the mob. We got Falcone, John Turturro, who we just seen The Big Lebowski a bit before, and we were like, dang, it's the bowling guy, yeah.
He's also in Zohan as well.
Yeah, he's in Don't Mess with Zohan, yeah.
What weird movies to be in, and then going into this Batman, playing
comedies,
one of those top characters. Yeah, bizarre. I think we didn't see him much, but
we talked about earlier about the Catwoman relationship with Falcone, and that was cool. But apart from that, there wasn't really a lot to him. He was just a means of driving the plot forwards with this Wayne conspiracy. Talking about driving the plot forward, Andy Serkis' Alfred. I was really excited for him because we got the casting announcement that he was going to be our new Alfred ages ago, and we were like, okay, he's going to be a younger, maybe he's going to be like the Batman Earth 1 Alfred. But in this one, he just seemed to be like running the stuff.
He helped
running the Bruce Wayne stuff.
Yeah, and he helped decode a message, but then got blown up later by another message, and he was in a coma in like the hospital for a bit.
And then when Bruce Wayne finally is there to wake him up, he's like, why didn't you tell me? I was like, thanks.
Yeah.
I just been in a coma and I just woke up.
I just feel like maybe he could have done a lot more.
But his acting was good. Andy Serkis is a great actor. If you don't know him, he did Gollum. He did
Planet of the Apes. He
played Caesar. And he's been directing recently, so he did the second Venom movie. So that was okay.
Carnage.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let it be Carnage.
So wrapping up, plot structure, really loved it. Different kind of like branches of different side stories, and I think it all pretty much flowed nicely, and it ended quite nicely at the end. They really summed it up quite well. Plot structure, Jamie?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Totally enjoyed the movie. Didn't think it was too long. I thought everything ran pretty fluidly. Action, also really good. Fighting was great. Stunts were great. What about you?
Gadget uses, car scenes, all that was... I haven't seen a good movie in a while, but that is one of my top movies for action, really. Aside along with cinematography, really, really nice,
really
beautiful.
Good. Guy who did June, guy who did Rogue
Spot
One.
on.
You know you're gonna get something great.
Yeah.
Locations used, we got Glasgow and Liverpool. It made it really, really grim and gothic, which is a lot like the Tim Burton one. Music by your favorite composer,
Michael Giacchino.
Who's that?
Who's that?
Acting was great by all the actors. Robert Pattinson,
Love
especially
Great
Zoe
cast.
Kravitz, Jeffrey Wright, Colin Farrell, Paul Dano. He's my favorite out of them. John Turturro and Andy Serkis. The costumes are awesome as well, and the CGI was decent. There wasn't much of it, but where it was really good.
So out of 10, I would give the Batman movie.
Ooh, what's it gonna be, Josh?
Tense pause.
You
While we
gave,
wait for the
I think you
vote.
gave Spider-Man an 8, and you gave Ghostbusters an 8. So what's it gonna be this time?
Well, it's gotta be. Well, since I've given Ghostbusters an 8 and Spider-Man an 8, and I know for sure Batman was way better than all those movies combined, I'd give it a 10 out of 10.
Whoa, the first 10! First 10 from the host of the Reid Renegade podcast. James, what would you give it out of 10? Your first rating?
So, as I said earlier, I've never seen any of any superhero films before, so I was coming into this completely new. And I gotta say, I'm gonna add to Josh. I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10.
Yes.
10 out of 10.
Let's get it. Let's
Big
get
10. Alright.
JB.
My opinion. I think I gave Ghostbusters a 7 if you watched that episode. I gave Spider-Man No Way Home an 8. Ooh. I think it's only fitting. I give this a 10 as well.
Damn. 10 all rounds.
Masterpiece.
10 all
of
rounds.
Cinema.
30 out of 30.
Where's Ollie at?
Yeah. Ollie would be crying right now. Anyway, so yeah, it was a masterpiece movie. Great bit of cinema. It's a modern classic.
Alright, so now we're just gonna go around and do the seal of approval. Josh, does this get your seal of approval?
This movie definitely does get my seal of approval. Jamesy, how about you?
I would definitely give this film the seal of approval.
And last but not least, what about my seal of approval? I think it does get my seal of approval.
Yeah. Damn, 10s and all seal of approval. But unfortunately, our time has come to an end. So we're going to be signing off. Thanks so much for watching this episode 3, The Batman, from your hosts, Joshua, Jamie, and James.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell, comment whatever future podcast ideas you have, any opinions you have about the Batman. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks to our guests earlier, Ollie, Alex, and Jonasz.
Oh, yeah.
Some controversial yet necessary opinions about this brand new amazing blockbuster.
And yeah, good to have that different opinion from Ollie, but we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in to Reid's Renegade Rebooted and listening to us, Jamie and Josh.
Reid's Renegade is a Reid's production. We are produced by James, Jamie, and Josh.
Sound designed by Jamie. Art direction by James. Marketing by Josh. Edited by Jamie.
And finally, thanks to our special guests, Ollie, Jonasz, and Alex.
Thanks for tuning in to Reid's Renegade, and we'll see you soon. How's my voice?
Yeah.
Alright, how's your voice?
How's my voice? What? How's my voice here? How's it here? But how's it over here, though? Or is it better up over here?
I don't know. And the Batmobile chase, wow. Like the music in that, it was like boom, 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 boom.
Squawk, squawk, squawk. Birds.
Bird.